Hey friends, welcome to the first day of my Christmas in July series. I'm really excited to get started with this. I have some fun things for us to do. We are going to kick it off with a fabric project. So we are going to make fabric coasters for Christmas, and we are going to be using our cutting mat, rotary blade fabrics. We are going to use a sewing machine, but wait, if you don't have a sewing machine, it's okay because we can sew this by hand. It is very simple. It's a very basic beginner project, but if you have a sewing machine, you can stitch them up that way too. And if you stick around with me till the end, we are actually going to use our Cricut to embellish these. Perfect as gifts, perfect for you, so much fun to make. So let's go ahead and get into it. And by the way, if you're new here, you're crafting with Kim Byers. Let's go. Okay, so here we are on the craft table. So I have my fabric, I have some pins, I have an Easy Ruler Junior and a little piece of tape here to mark my 5 inches because this is going to be a 5 by 5 piece of fabric, and I have a good pair of scissors. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to snip through our salvage. And then what we're going to do is pick that up and we're going to rip it all the way down the length of this fabric. And so what you want to do is you want to hold it really close. Let's see if I can get that to focus for us. There we go. And so then we're going to rip it. And it's important, guys, that you have good fabric. Because if you don't have good fabric, it's not going to work very well. Okay, and now when we get to the end, we're once again on the salvage, so we're going to need to snip that off with a pair of scissors. Okay, so now this is what we ripped off, and you can see that it wasn't perfectly straight, right? Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to flip it over. And so now this is what our edge looks like. So now what we want to do is we want to pull that outer string, and we want to pull it all the way down. Okay, and so that's going to show you where you're going to be able to ravel this easily. Okay, so now we're just going to measure 5 more inches, and we're going to do that process again. So we want to take our scissors. We're going to snip through our salvage. Okay, so now we're just going to cut through the bottom part of that salvage. So now what we're going to do is pull that on the other side and make sure that it ravels right. So there we go. And so now let's go ahead and on this full strip, we're going to cut the salvage off of each end. So we'll put this fabric to the side and we will trim off our salvage. And if it was any longer than this, I would use a rotary blade. But since this is such a short piece, I'm just going to flip it over so we can see that easily. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take our ruler, and we know that our fabric is 5 inches this way, and so now we are going to measure it 5 inches this way, and then we're going to snip, and we'll just tear each one of these and get all of our pieces for our mug rug. Ta-da! Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our straight edge and our rotary blade and trim out our batting at 4 inches by 4 inches. Let's see, we'll put them on the inside like this, and then we'll take them over to the auto press. Okay, so here we are on the auto press, and so I have my material face down, and then I have the adhesive portion of my batting facing in, and so I'm also going to press the top of my design as well. So let's go ahead. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to protect my auto press with a piece of parchment paper. Let's put that in, and then we will press go. Okay, all done. And perfectly pressed. Okay, so here we are back on the craft table. So now I have my fabric with my batting, and I have my other pieces, my top piece. And so what we want to do is we just want to line those up. And they don't have to be perfect. And then we will pin them in the center and we'll take them over to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are on the sewing table. We're using a Janome Horizon, and my mom is teaching me how to do this.
1/2 inch all the way around.
Okay, so we just lift up the presser foot and put it back down like as we pivot.
I'll sew one more stitch.
These are so super simple. Okay, so we just go all the way around, and then we will also stitch in the center. And that's also going to help secure the batting so that it doesn't shift when we wash them and that kind of thing. Okay, so here we are back on the craft table. So these are my stitched little coasters. See how cute they are? So this is what they're going to look like once you bring them back to the craft table. So they already kind of had these frayed edges just from sewing and cutting and tearing. But what we want to do is we want to really fray those edges. So let me show you how to fray these. So basically you just want to come from the corner and you want to grab a piece of thread. See if I can show you. You want to grab a piece of thread here at the corner, and if for some reason you can't get it to pull, it's super easy to fix. You're just going to take a needle and then you're going to slide that underneath the first thread. You see it, so it pops up there, and then we're just going to pull, and you'll go all the way around the 4 edges. I think they are absolutely adorable just like this, especially if you have some, you know, patterned with like snowmen or Rudolph or whatever the case may be. But if you want to use a pattern like this and further embellish it, let's break out our Cricut and let me show you how to do that. Okay, so if you're still with me, then we're going to embellish these even further. So they're super sweet, just the way they are. But what we're going to do is take our fabric mat, some more fabric, heat and bond, a ruler, my brayer, and we are going to use our Cricut to cut out some shapes. Now we're going to cut out Christmas trees, but you could cut out everything up to, you know, as intricate as a snowflake, especially if you're putting it on heat and bond. So this is going to allow you to press the design onto this without having to stitch it again. So you don't have to sew it unless you want to. So what we're going to do is go ahead and trim this out and get it on our maker. Okay, so I want my fabric to be 5 inches by 4 inches, and I'm just make sure that when you have prints that you pay attention to the orientation of your fabric, because I want my trees to run with stripes across them, and my trees are going to sit like this on the mat. So I'm just going to use my straight edge ruler and cut out my fabric. Okay, and I went ahead and cut out a piece of our heat and bond to match. So if you've not used this before, it has an adhesive on one side and a protective covering on the other. And basically what we're going to do is take it over and press the fabric to the heat and bond. Okay, so here we are at my auto press, and I put a piece of parchment paper on it just because since this is tacky, I just don't want it to get onto my press. And so then I'm going to layer them up. Okay. And so now I'm just going to put another piece of parchment on top, close it up. It really only needs about 10 seconds, so I may end this a little early. By the way, I had someone leave a comment on my channel the other day, like, why Christmas in July? Why are people doing all this Christmas in July stuff? I'll be honest with you, for me, it is really because I am having fun creating and I'm not stressed that it's about, time to give something. And so I'm not up crafting late. I'm just like, I'm crafting, I'm having fun with it, and there's no stress behind it. So that's really why I get started in July, because whenever I get into the fall and all the back to school and all the sports and all the things, it gets daunting, and I end up like having a list of things that I want to make and I don't get to them. And so by starting in July, it's more fun. It's more fun. So that's my answer to like, why Christmas in July? Okay, so let's get back to crafting. Okay, and so now it's done. We'll pull our drawer out. Ooh, warm, warm, warm. There we go. Perfect. Back on the craft table, you can see that it adhered perfectly. So you can see it has that perfect back on it, and now it's not flimsy like it was before. It's stiff. So what we're going to do is take our pink fabric mat, and then we want to put it long ways, 5 inches, 4 inches. We're gonna place this on the mat, and we can put the brayer to it if we think we need it to be a little tackier. And then we'll just cut it like a normal piece of vinyl or iron-on or anything else. Now, one thing we do want to do is we want to use our rotary blade. So I actually already have mine in my machine, but if I didn't, we would just take this time to replace our blade. So this is a rotary, just like the normal rotary I used earlier when I was cutting out the fabric. Okay, so we'll pop that back in, close the housing, and we're ready to go. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and so I've gone ahead and just added a shape to my canvas that is about the size of the interior of my mug rug. So this is going to, just click on it, so this is 4 by 4 inches, which is the interior piece or kind of the size of the batting. And so then I just brought in a very simple Christmas tree, and I am just going to overlay it to make sure that it's going to fit well within my space, and it is. And so now we're just going to go ahead and hit Make It. So now I'm going to choose matte and a 12 by 12. Now I could have turned off the red square, but it's not important because I'm just not going to cut it. But now what I want to do is I want more than one Christmas tree. So I'm going to go up into Project Copies, and I'm going to add copies to that. So we'll apply. And then you could take this, you know, if you were trying to save your fabric, and flip it around and move it a little bit closer so that you could really, you know, minimize the amount of fabric that you're using. So once you've done that, now we just go ahead and select Continue. So we are using a bonded cotton fabric. So just make sure that's what you select in Cricut Design Space. We unload. We pull our material off the mat. And that's just our backer from the other. So how fun is that, right? These are gonna be so cute. When we pull them away from the mat, see they still have the protective backing on the back. And then our pattern's on the front. Okay, so now that we have our little embellishments, what we're going to do is peel the backing off, and we're going to place those onto our little rug mug and take that over to the auto press and press it one more time. So it's literally like a sticker. You can just peel it up from the edge. Do you see that? There you go. And so we're just going to peel that away. There we go. Okay, and so now that is an adhesive. And so what we want to do is place it into the center of our little fabric, and we'll take that over to the press. Okay, so I've centered my trees, and I am going to cover it with a piece of parchment paper. We'll slide that in. It really only needs about 10 seconds. So there we go. And if you guys are interested in this press, I just got it recently, and I have a full review on what I think about it, and links to it down in the description if you guys want to check that out. Okay. How cute. I am in love. I'm in love. And you know, you could personalize these with like monograms or anything like that for a special gift. If you liked that one, I hope you'll stick around for some more Christmas crafting. See you in the next one.